past midnight. The house is silent. The world outside your window is dark and the vast majority of it is asleep. But you are not. You are staring into the pale blue glow of a screen. Your eyes are tired, burning even. A dull ache is settling in behind your temples. There's a little voice in the back of your head, a faint whisper of your rational self, screaming at you to put the phone down, to turn off the laptop, to just stop. You know you should. You know tomorrow morning will be a brutal price to pay for these stolen moments. Yet your thumb continues its relentless, hypnotic scroll. This isn't just laziness. It isn't simply poor time management. This is something else. This is a deliberate act, an act of rebellion. This is revenge bedtime procrastination. It's a term for what you're doing right now, sacrificing sleep for a few precious hours of personal time that you felt were stolen from you during the day. A day filled with demands, deadlines, meetings, and obligations that left no room for you. This is your quiet protest, your desperate attempt to reclaim a piece of your own life. But this small act of defiance, this silent revenge, has a dark side. It comes with a hidden neurological price tag that goes far beyond feeling tired the next day. What if I told you that with every scroll, with every video you watch in the dead of night, you are actively participating in a process that damages your mind, that you are rewiring the very architecture of your brain to favor anxiety, depression, and a permanent state of cognitive fog? In this video, we are going to pull back the curtain on this modern epidemic. We will journey deep into the neurochemistry of your late-night resistance, exploring the battle between your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought, and your hijacked limbic system. We will uncover why your brain, in its attempt to find freedom, is actually leading you into a psychological prison. The question is no longer if you should sleep. The question is, why does your own mind betray you in these quiet hours? Stay with me as we expose the dark truth about what revenge bedtime procrastination is really doing to your mind. If you recognized yourself in that description, know that you are not alone. You are not broken, nor are you weak. You are part of a silent legion of people fighting this same battle every night. A legion of thinkers, workers, parents, and creators. People who give so much of themselves during the day that the night becomes the only free territory left to conquer. This need for revenge is not a character flaw. It is a human response to a world that often seems to leave no room for our own existence. A world of incessant productivity, of constant notifications, of a culture that glorifies being busy as a synonym for value. We feel robbed of our time, our energy, our attention. And like any being that feels cornered, we react. Sleep procrastination is our way of saying, this moment is mine. This hour, this minute belongs to me, not to the world's expectations. It's an act that, on the surface, appears to be about freedom. But, as we will discover, true freedom is rarely found in acts of self-sabotage. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about the will to power, not as a desire to dominate others, but as the fundamental drive of every being to grow, expand, and assert its own strength. What you do at night is a distorted manifestation of this will to power. It is your psyche trying to assert its existence, but using the wrong tools. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The problem is that our brain did not evolve for the modern world. It still operates on a primitive system, focused on immediate rewards and survival. And to this tired, overloaded brain, the instant pleasure of one more video, one more social media page, seems far more appealing than the abstract reward of a good night's sleep. You are in a neurological tug-of-war. On one side, your prefrontal cortex, the evolved part of your brain that understands consequences, that knows you need to sleep. On the other side, your limbic system, the emotional and impulsive part, which is exhausted from being suppressed all day and now demands its reward. Who do you think wins this fight at the end of an exhausting day? In this video, we will not just describe the problem, we will dissect it. We will explore the Jungian concept of the shadow, how this nightly procrastination is, in fact, a desperate cry from the parts of you that were ignored during the day. We will analyze the neurochemistry of stress and how lack of sleep creates a vicious cycle that fuels anxiety and depression. And most importantly, we will look beyond the problem to seek a deeper wisdom. How can we transform this act of revenge into an act of true reclamation? How can we honor our need for personal time without sacrificing our mental and physical health? This is not a journey about being more productive. It is a journey about being more whole, about aligning your nightly actions with your deepest needs instead of fighting against yourself. Because true strength isn't found in resisting sleep. It's found in building a life you don't feel the need to escape from. To understand the depth of this habit, we must first dissect the keyword, revenge. It's a strong word, charged with emotion. It suggests retaliation, a response to a perceived injustice. But who is the enemy? Who or what exactly are we trying to get revenge on? The answer is more complex than it seems. It's not revenge against a boss, a client, or a specific task. It's revenge against the very structure of a life that robs us of autonomy. Think about your day. How many hours were truly yours? From the moment the alarm rings, you enter a reactive mode. You answer emails, meet demands, hit deadlines, care for your family, perform household chores. You become a function, the professional, the parent, the student. Your identity dissolves into a series of roles that society demands you play. The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre argued that existence precedes essence, meaning we are born without a defined purpose and are free to create who we are. However, modern life often inverts this idea. The essence, your role, your function, is imposed upon you, and your personal existence must squeeze into the leftover cracks. Revenge bedtime procrastination is what happens when those cracks aren't enough. It's a declaration. It's your deepest self, your crushed individuality screaming, "I exist." It is an act of existential assertion in the only moment you feel you have the power to do so, the loneliness of the night. Ironically, this power is an illusion. By getting revenge on the day, you are in fact punishing your future self. You are stealing the energy, clarity, and resilience from your tomorrow self to give a fleeting pleasure to your today self. It's a loan with exorbitant interest, paid with mental and physical health. The psychologist Dr. Flor Kruse, who was one of the first to study bedtime procrastination, noted that this behavior is not about external circumstances. It's not because a baby is crying or there's an emergency. It's a deliberate choice made with full awareness of its negative consequences. This is crucial. You know you will regret it. But the need to feel in control, to exercise your autonomy, is so strong that it overrides logic. It's here that we see the collision between modern psychology and classical philosophy. For the Stoics, like Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, the highest virtue was self-control, the ability to govern one's own impulses. They would say that in this act, you are failing at your most fundamental task, to be a good ruler of yourself. But perhaps the Stoic perspective is too harsh. Perhaps we should look at this with more compassion. Carl Jung taught us that what we resist persists. By fighting against fatigue and the structure of the day, we are only giving them more power. The question we must ask ourselves is not, "How can I stop doing this?" but rather, "What is this need for revenge trying to tell me?" What in your daily life is so devoid of meaning and autonomy that the only way to feel alive is by sabotaging your own rest? This question is uncomfortable, but it is where the beginning of true change resides. If revenge is the symptom, we must now look at the root cause, at the psychological wound it tries, unsuccessfully, to heal. For this, we turn to one of the greatest explorers of the human psyche, Carl Gustav Jung. Jung gave us the concept of the shadow, the repository of everything we repress, deny, and reject in ourselves. The shadow is not necessarily evil. It is simply the part of us that our consciousness, our persona, the social mask we wear every day, does not allow to come to light. It is our wild side, our unlived desires, our secret ambitions, our need for rest, for leisure, for creativity without purpose. During the day, your persona is in command. It is efficient, responsible, polished. It follows the rules, meets the goals, keeps up appearances. But what about your shadow? Where is your desire to simply do nothing? Where is your passion for a hobby that doesn't generate profit? Where is your need for silence in a noisy world? During the day, these parts are locked away in the basement of your psyche. But at night, when the lights go out and the persona finally falls asleep, exhausted from its role, the shadow forces the door open. Sleep procrastination is the shadow's playground. It is your shadow saying, "You ignored me all day, but now you will listen to me. Now you will give me what I want." And what does it want? It wants guilt-free pleasure, aimless distraction, responsibility-free freedom. It wants to devour content, play one more game, dive into fictional worlds. It is your neglected self, hungry for experience, trying to feed on the crumbs of time you refuse to give to sleep. The problem, as Jung would warn us, is that a shadow that is not consciously integrated manifests destructively. It takes control, and its desires, because they are not recognized and honored during the day, become nightly compulsions that sabotage you. Think about it. What do you do in these stolen hours? Are you learning a new skill, meditating, writing in a journal? Most of the time, no. You are in a state of passive consumption, infinite scrolling, binge-watching series. It's a numbing. You are not truly recharging, you are shutting down. Why? Because the shadow, when it emerges uncontrollably, does not seek growth. It seeks immediate relief. It doesn't want to build anything. It just wants to quench a desperate thirst. The novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky was a master at portraying this human duality in his characters. Men who yearned for virtue but were constantly dragged down by their darkest, most misunderstood impulses. You in the dead of night are a Dostoevskian character, waging an internal battle between the ideal of your tomorrow self, rested, productive, healthy, and the irresistible impulse of your now self, the shadow self that demands to be seen. The transformative question that emerges from this is, how can you honor your shadow during the day? How can you create small sacred spaces for leisure, for purposeless pleasure, for your individuality, so that it doesn't have to break down the door at night? Denying your shadow doesn't make it disappear. It only makes it stronger, hungrier, and more destructive when it finally finds a crack to escape through. Now that we understand the psychological motivation, let's put the brain under the microscope. What is happening chemically inside your head when you consciously decide to ignore the need for sleep? You are not just making a bad decision. You are the victim of a neurological hijacking, a civil war waged between two distinct and conflicting parts of your brain. On one side, we have the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO, the strategist, the adult, rational part of your mind. It is responsible for long-term planning, logical decision-making, and impulse control. It's the voice that tells you, go to sleep now. You have an important meeting tomorrow. Your health depends on it. For most of the day, when you are rested and your resources are high, the prefrontal cortex is in control. It helps you resist that extra dessert, focus on a boring task, and be a functional adult. On the other side, we have the limbic system, and in particular, the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center. Think of it as the impulsive child, the hedonist who lives only for immediate pleasure. It doesn't care about tomorrow, it just wants to feel good now. This system is governed by a powerful neurotransmitter, dopamine. Dopamine is not the neurotransmitter of pleasure itself, but of the anticipation of pleasure. It's what makes you scroll the feed, click on the next video, play one more round. Each new stimulus, each potential reward, releases a small jet of dopamine, telling your brain, keep doing this. There might be something good next. At the end of a stressful day, what happens to these two parts? Your prefrontal cortex is exhausted. Self-control is a finite resource, like muscle strength. After spending the entire day making decisions, resisting temptations, and managing stress, your self-control muscle is fatigued. At the same time, your limbic system, which has been suppressed all day, is hungry for stimuli and rewards. The battle becomes unfair. The rational CEO is too tired to fight, and the impulsive child takes over the control panel. Your brain, in search of a quick fix, enters a dopamine loop, sacrificing essential rest in exchange for small, empty peaks of pleasure. It's a perfect trap. The day's stress increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which leaves you in a state of alertness. This state of alertness makes it difficult to relax enough for sleep. To combat this discomfort, you seek the dopamine from screens. The blue light from these screens, in turn, inhibits the production of melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body that it's time to sleep. You thus create a vicious cycle. Stress prevents you from sleeping. You seek relief on screens, and the screens further prevent you from sleeping. You are not relaxing. You are trading one type of stress for another. Every night this repeats. You are training your brain to associate the bed not with rest, but with stimulation. You are weakening the authority of your prefrontal cortex and strengthening the tyranny of your limbic system. So far, we have explored the why. Now let's face the consequences. What happens physically when this nightly rebellion becomes a chronic habit? It's not just about yawning in a meeting. It's about a systematic degradation of your cognitive architecture. Sleep is not a passive state. It is an active and vital maintenance process for the brain. It is during deep sleep that your brain does its house cleaning. The glymphatic system, a kind of waste removal system, kicks into action, clearing out the metabolic toxins that accumulate during the day, including beta-amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Every night you sacrifice sleep, you are literally allowing trash to build up in your brain. The first victim of this neglect is your ability to think clearly. Your prefrontal cortex, already exhausted, becomes even more compromised. Decision-making becomes more impulsive. Problem-solving slows down, and creativity, which depends on the brain's ability to make unexpected connections, simply vanishes. You enter a state of cognitive fog, a mental swamp where thoughts are sluggish and focus is impossible. Nietzsche valued clarity of thought as a supreme virtue. He believed that to rise above the herd, one needed a mind as sharp as a razor. Chronic sleep deprivation is the opposite path. It is the voluntary dulling of your most powerful tool. But the damage is deeper. Lack of sleep dysregulates your emotional center, the amygdala. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, causing you to overreact to negative stimuli. Minor annoyances turn into major crises. Anxiety becomes your constant companion. At the same time, the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, the connection that allows logic to calm emotion, weakens. You become an emotional ship in a storm, without a captain at the helm. It's no wonder that studies consistently link sleep deprivation to an increased risk of anxiety and depressive disorders. By seeking relief from daily stress, you are, ironically, creating the perfect neurological conditions for stress and negativity to flourish. Think of a misunderstood genius like Nikola Tesla. He was known for his eccentric sleep habits, but also for his periods of mental collapse. Although his brilliant mind changed the world, his story serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of human endurance. Pushing the mind beyond its biological limits is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of hubris against nature itself, and nature always collects its debt. The question that remains is, what are you gaining in these extra hours that is worth the degradation of your clarity, your emotional balance, and your long-term brain health? At the heart of revenge, bedtime procrastination, lies a powerful illusion, the illusion of control. In a world where we feel like cogs in a machine, where our days are dictated by others, the night seems to be the last bastion of our sovereignty. I decide when I go to sleep, we think. I control this small domain of time, but do we really have control? Or are we just puppets of an even deeper impulse? Here, the dark philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer offers us a powerful and uncomfortable lens. For Schopenhauer, the universe is not governed by reason, but by a blind, irrational, and ceaseless force he called the will. The will is a cosmic desire to exist, to manifest, and it is present in everything, from the plant that seeks light to the human who seeks happiness. We do not control the will controls us. Our desires, our ambitions, our impulses, all these are just individual manifestations of this relentless force. And the main characteristic of the will is that it can never be satisfied. As soon as one desire is fulfilled, another arises in its place, keeping us in a perpetual cycle of craving and suffering. Look at your nightly rebellion through this lens. What you call control is, in fact, the will operating in its purest form. It is the blind desire for more stimulation, more distraction, more life. Even if that life is a pale imitation consumed through a screen, you are not in command. You are being commanded by the impulse to scroll, by the desire to see the next video, by the insatiable hunger for dopamine. You think you are getting revenge on your workday, but in reality, you are just trading one master, your boss, your obligations, for another, far more tyrannical one, your own uncontrolled impulses. You flee the cage of the office, only to enter the cage of compulsion. Machiavelli, in his brutally realistic analysis of power, taught us that to rule others, one must first understand human nature and, above all, rule oneself. He would understand your situation perfectly. He would say that by giving in to your nocturnal impulses, you are demonstrating weakness, not power. You are becoming predictable and manipulable, not only to the algorithms designed to capture your attention, but to your own biology. True power, true autonomy, does not lie in yielding to every desire. It lies in the ability to observe a desire, acknowledge it, and then consciously choose not to act on it for the sake of a greater good. Schopenhauer believed that the only escape from the will's cycle of suffering was its negation, through art, contemplation, and ultimately, a form of asceticism. We don't need to go that far, but we can extract a crucial piece of wisdom. Recognize that the impulse that keeps you awake is not your friend. It is not an act of freedom. It is your biology deceiving you. And the first step to freeing yourself from a tyrant is to recognize that you are under a tyranny. If revenge bedtime procrastination is a symptom of a life without autonomy and space for the authentic self, then the cure is not in sleep hacks or forced discipline. The cure is in redesigning, subtly but deliberately, your daily life. It's not about an overnight revolution, but about small acts of authenticity that, when added up, reduce the need for revenge. It's about giving your shadow small doses of light during the day so it doesn't need to explode in the darkness. The first step is a transition ritual. Our modern life has eliminated boundaries. Work invades home, home becomes the office. Your brain doesn't receive a clear signal that the battle day is over and your time has begun. Create that signal. It can be something simple. At the end of the workday, close the laptop and don't open it again. Take a long shower, change your clothes, take a short 10-minute walk around the block. Anything that tells your brain, unequivocally, that chapter is over. Now a new one begins. This is not wasted time, it is an investment in sanity. It is an act of reclaiming your time that doesn't depend on sacrificing sleep. The second step is what we can call intentional micro-leisure. Instead of waiting for the desperate hours of the morning, inject small doses of non-productive personal time throughout your day. 5 minutes looking out the window without your phone in hand. 10 minutes listening to a song you love with your eyes closed. 15 minutes reading a chapter of a fiction book during your lunch break. These moments seem insignificant, but they are the antidote to the poison of overload. They feed your shadow, honor your need to be, rather than just do. The psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that the last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. These micro-leisures are an exercise of this fundamental freedom. Finally, practice dialogue with the shadow. Take a notebook, a physical object, not a screen. And before you even think about turning on any device at night, write. Ask yourself, what do I really need in this moment? Is it another episode or is it silence? Is it more information or is it peace? If I weren't exhausted, what would I do with this free time? Often, the simple act of articulating the desire demystifies it. You may find that what you truly crave is not distraction, but connection, creativity, or genuine rest. As Jung suggested, you don't defeat the shadow. You integrate it. You talk to it, understand it, and bring it into the light as an ally, not an enemy. By doing this, you transform the need for a destructive revenge into an act of conscious reclamation. We began this journey in the dark, in the solitary act of a silent rebellion. We saw how this quest for control, this revenge against a day that does not belong to us, is in fact a trap, a psychological trap where our neglected shadow cries out for attention, a neurological trap which locks us in a vicious cycle of stress and dopamine, and a philosophical trap which makes us confuse servitude to an impulse with the exercise of freedom. We discovered that the price of this rebellion is too high. We pay with our mental clarity, our emotional balance, and ultimately our long-term health. The uncomfortable truth is that there is no victory in a war waged against oneself. Every night you win the battle against sleep. You lose the war for your own integrity. But the message of this video is not one of despair. It is one of clarity. Revenge bedtime procrastination is not your defect. It is a signal. It is a diagnosis. It is a map that points exactly to the areas of your life that are lacking in autonomy, meaning, and authenticity. It shows you where your life is suffocating you. The true rebellion, the true assertion of the Nietzschean will to power, is not staying up later. It is having the courage to look at your day and ask, how can I build a life I don't need to escape from? How can I infuse my day with so many moments of presence and meaning that the night can finally be what it should be, a sanctuary of rest and restoration, not a battlefield? The change will not come from an app or a miracle technique. It will come from small conscious acts of reclamation, from rituals that separate work from rest, from moments of leisure that honor your humanity, from an honest dialogue with the parts of you that have been left in the dark. The journey out of the dark night of the soul is not found by extending the night, but by learning to live more fully during the day. Because real freedom is not stealing time from your sleep. It is building an existence so authentic that you long for rest, knowing that tomorrow you will have the strength to live again. This journey of self-discovery is often a lonely one, but it doesn't have to be. I want to know your story. Leave a comment below answering this question. What is the one small act of authenticity or micro-leisure you will try to introduce into your day to start reclaiming your life before the night arrives? Your experience might be the clarity someone else is looking for. And if you found value in this exploration, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Together, we can continue to navigate the depths of the human mind, not to find easy answers, but to learn how to ask better questions.